All right, all right, all right. Welcome to Warrior Week podcast with
Dustin?
no
No.
with Mr. Luce. Warrior Week podcast, Parable from the Pit.
Loose.
Dustin and Luce.
I can be,
Okay,
I can be
Dustin Luce.
Italian.
Dustin,
I can be Italian.
Dustin Luce and his wonderful wife. And so we're gonna start right out of the gate. What brought you to Warrior?
Well, I think like a lot of guys say, it was Garrett's advertising caught my attention. I was seeing some ads on Facebook, and honestly, I wasn't hunting, but his ads were very provocative. And he talks about marketing and waking up the person you're trying to get to, and he definitely shook me awake. His message, and it was more for me at that time. It was more based on business, less on family, and little did I realize that was going to completely switch up later on, which we can talk about that in a little bit.
Okay. So what year was that?
That was 2018. I first entered in, it was 17. I bought the Warrior book in the fall, and then I believe 18 in the summer, you guys were doing a King's kit. I entered in that, and I did a little bit. I didn't fully commit. From there, it was WarriorCon 3, and that's what I fully committed to going to that. And the offer was made there to join Warrior Week, and so that's where I was, entered in.
Okay, great. So talk to me about King's Kid. What evolution did you do, as you remember, and why did you stop?
You know what? We talk about being completely honest. I think I did the first evolution, and I don't even remember what it was. And then I stopped.
The garage.
Yeah. And I stopped. At that point, I just did not commit and did not engage. And that was obviously the first sign later of my problem.
Do you know or remember what was it that kind of triggered? You're like, I don't want to do this, or this is not for me.
Just letting life get in the way, letting other people and other things take my attention, and not at the time fully realizing my need for Warrior and the changes that needed to take place. So, it was initially just not fully being in and understanding what was going on, and just continuing to go with the flow of life as it was.
Okay, so then you come to WarriorCon. Obviously, everybody is locked in for 12 hours. Everybody wears black, so you can't quit, or you can, but it's just like there's all the weight of all these other guys that are there. So what happened at WarriorCon that kind of shifted your perspective to kind of like connect to the message that Warrior had at that time? Because, yeah, we did talk about business, but we did talk about many other things.
Right. Yeah. So I remember it was funny. Emily and I were just going over our text messages from back then. I still have my text messages from when we were conversing. And just to frame in kind of what was going on with me at the time, we had my business partner and I had somebody very important, a key person in our organization that totally he left. And he tried to cause a lot of damage in the organization. And so I was coming out of that, and I was taking on a lot of positions in the organization to pick up the slack. And I committed to going to WarriorCon 3. And as I went there, my realization, like day one, as you said, we're locked in there. There's all the excitement, banging on the doors, going in, and it's like crazy because everybody's wearing black. And my organization, I've done now 14 conferences myself. And one of the realizations there was that this is totally different, right? I was thinking I was going to a conference, and it was another thing where you would just get fed information, and you're going to sit there and watch somebody talk all day, Garrett talk all day, and that was great. Loved his message. And, in the midst of that, realizing in day one, this is not the normal conference. It's not a conference. This is an immersion, and it was scary and mesmerizing at the same time, being in that room in the beginning. I remember you up there having all the coaches roaming the aisles and pulling guys up on the stage, and it was scary. You know, I was watching them like, oh, don't pull me up, don't pull me up. I didn't get pulled up.
Did I
but
pull you up?
no.
Oh.
I watched you smash a guy's phone, and you know, the guys sitting around me are like, oh my God, this guy's intense. I'm like, that's pretty awesome, actually. You know, I've never seen anything like this. So you guys definitely set the stage. But you know, back to what was the difference for me and what really caught my attention is going to these conferences all the time, been to many, and realizing this is not normal. This is not normal, but I'm hungry for it. It really woke me up being in that room, and the evolutions just in that room, connecting with the guys next to me. And it wasn't about just sitting and listening to somebody speak on stage. It was about Garrett setting the frame and you setting the frame within that situation, and then going internal and immediately connecting it to ourselves and how we need to be changing.
So great. So you come to the event, and you know, there's the whole conversation on Warrior Week, and you know, if you're called to be at Warrior Week, the purpose of being at Warrior Week. Also, it's a big ticket. Did you call your wife?
Yeah, so that's really what I was looking for in the text messages, because I remember I thought I had messaged her, and she was at a training in Denver at the time, which was totally not normal for us, you know, especially for her traveling. She does personal training, and so she went to Denver to get some coaching. And so we were both away from the kids. And I remember calling her that night when you guys made the invitation.
Yes.
And, you know, that, and back to what attracted me, Warrior Week was one of the things that attracted me. Watching these guys, you know, getting in the mud, toiling. A little background, I work with veterans, and so I didn't serve, and I saw that as an opportunity of like, okay, this is a way that I can go to something and at least build some connection, build a bridge, right? That was another reason why I went. But, you know, getting the invite from Garrett on stage, I got like really nervous just sitting there going, I need this, but I was really nervous to step forward and do it. I'd never spent that much money on myself ever. I'd never stepped out and made myself that uncomfortable, even in that moment, knowing in my mind I need to go do this. So you guys released us, and Garrett's like, you guys better get on this. And I immediately called her. And I said, hey, you know, I told you about this Warrior Week. I'm here at WarriorCon. There's an opportunity for me to go do it. And I said, I think I need to do it. What do you think? And she was immediately, yes, you need to do it. I said, well, no, don't you want to know how much it costs? She's like, no, it doesn't matter. You need to do it. So there I was.
Beautiful. I asked this only, not that this is normal, that I asked, did you call your wife? So let's just make it clear. I asked this because I know the history, and like you guys collaborate almost like on every conversation, and like even the recent studies that you guys are doing together. I mean, not recent, but the recent study that I'm aware of on the Bible that you guys are doing together. It's just amazing. So I asked because I wanted to get a confirmation that collaboration was always there. So you get the phone call. Like you immediately go to your heart and say go. So what do you remember?
I remember just the intensity in his voice and hearing the desperate need, and to see that kind of emotion from Dustin at that time was like, whoa, you can do whatever you go. So I just remember being really excited for him because he was so all in with something.
Yeah, so you could feel the heat, you could feel like a different vibration. Okay, great. So then you come you come to Warrior Week, and the Warrior Week experience starts, right? The 30 days. What can you tell us about like the buildup? How was that affecting your energy? How was that like, did anything show up at home? Just the buildup, the first 30 days.
Yeah, you know, it's funny is when you sign up for Warrior Week, you don't fully understand everything right at that moment, and especially the lead up. And I know I've talked to many of the brothers, and we all echo the same thing, that the lead up was just as important, if maybe not even more important, than the actual week itself. You know, there's a lot of times you can go into an experience and you're expecting to be there for those couple of days, and you know, that is what it is. But to go through that 30 days of, you know, looking inward and being challenged daily, and the chaos of going through that, it was awakening. There were a lot of emotions. You know, I don't want to spoil anything, but you know, going through all of that and going through, you know, frustrations and just a vast variety of emotions that you go through in that lead up was incredible, and it definitely set the frame and the mood walking into Warrior Week. it enabled me to understand who I was going in with. Um, yeah.
Were you kind of like giving him space to experience what he needed to experience? Were you part of that, or you don't remember?
No, we definitely gave him space. And we'll still reference it. The kids still remember, like, dad coming in with his, eyes full of tears, or and we knew this was serious stuff. He didn't tell us what he was doing, or we knew he was going to go record something, or we would know that, but he didn't give us details. But you could see the just emotion pouring out of him for days. It was so intense. And even our kids still remember that 30-day period that dad went through. Again, that was more in our household than the week he was gone, and when he came back, that 30 days, the changes began then.
Great. So, okay, man, you come to day one, right? And like this is the parables from the pit. You come in day one. Is this just like we go to this heavy place, right? Everybody goes there. What was your experience of day one? Like, what did you experience personally? The feelings, the thoughts, and like, what would you say happened to you on day one and night one?
Man, day one it was an explosion of sorts. I think that, well, walking into it, I was in a place of just like shaking, walking into it, not knowing what to expect. There was fear there, but there was also certainty in knowing that you guys had a process. We were supposed to trust the process, take care of our brother, right? And so having those things in my mind and just going over that again and again and again, it was chaos. It made us, it took us to a place of not being able to hide, for sure, right? Because the situation and going into it, and there's so much going on, and it forces you to get real and honest with what's going on. It breaks you down. Like I said, I'm around a lot of military guys, and they talk about how the military breaks you down to build you back up to be something else. And so that was what I experienced that day, was a complete and total breakdown. But at the same time, it was a release, of holding yourself back, of past guilt, in setting the stage to be rebuilt. And that's kind of like, the daytime, that was rough. That day was really, really rough. And going into the evening, as we, there was kind of a transition into, there was meditation and writing and acknowledging all the stuff that we went through during the day, and then being able to release it and kind of get in touch with the voice inside. And that's what, ended with the night, burning our stories, right? And that's been powerful, and that's something that we're going to be doing quickly with our youth night coming up here on New Year's, but we can talk more about that later. Yeah. But yeah, it was like that day could have been a week in itself, just the evolution of it.
So we're gonna skip the 3-4 days. He comes home. What did you notice in that week? Like, was it his voice, energy, the way he was thinking? So what did you notice?
There was a change in everything. He was super attentive, and he just came home and loved on his family so much. And he had so much he wanted to know. It was like question after question after question about all of us and what our lives are like. And he had really deep questions and detailed conversations with me and with the kids. He was so hungry to almost get to know us.
Okay. So a year goes by, right? And we drift, we go up and down. How do you keep what you were given as a gift, or what you looked for and found? Because nothing was given.
Absolutely. That's a very good question, because we were talking about this today with our son, or we were talking about our son. We're here on a retreat right now, her and I actually. So just about going through struggles And you know, a lot of people have this idea that you're going to come to and arrive at a place where just everything is good and like life is good and everything works out. And that's not true. It's a constant evolution. It's a constant expansion. And there's always going to be challenges. So, yeah, you know, coming out of Warrior Week, there's this euphoria and just completely like wide awake. And that's, you know, asking questions with the family. She's absolutely right. It's suddenly like, Dad was never there, and now he's there all of a sudden, and wants to know, and wants detail, and wants to dive in. But yeah, it does drift away because it is kind of a euphoria, and that's where putting the work in daily takes place and is necessary. Because if you don't do that, and if you're not plugged in, and if you're not part of a brotherhood and a group of men that are willing to challenge you and call you out, and vice versa, it does go away. So, you know, that year was a process of, you know, doing the work and then reconnecting and then going back and doing the work and then reconnecting and adjusting. And that doesn't end. I mean, that's still today. I get recharged when I plug back in to the brothers. I get recharged when I take some time away to be able to think and work on me. And that's now what we're doing for the first time this weekend, you know.
Beautiful. Okay, so Warrior Week by itself, right? It's let me get this mic right. It's an experience where day one, as nice as you may be, or as nice as you may think that he is, day one, like it's just the release of some spirits inside of you that don't really belong there, right? They found a place. They're like, cool, I'm gonna come hang out here. And what that does is it's kind of like affects the way you think and the way you talk and the way you walk. So day one, it's kind of like just emptying that through a numbers of a process. And day two is really allowing the light to come in and the right spirit to just fill you up. So it's the secret of Warrior Week. We're going to give it away anyway. It doesn't matter. What happens in day one is that the voice is constantly there with you. Like, and if you go to the Bible and if you read, I'm not really good at this, but anyway, there's a passage inside of Kings that talks about like God is talking to Elijah, and there is this wind that comes in and split the mountains in half, and people start looking for God, and they can't see him. Then there is like the earthquake that comes in, and they look for him, and they can't see him. And then there's like the fire that comes in and look for him. They can't see him. And finally, there's a whisper, and then they hear him, right? So what you experience day one is the wind splitting the mountain, a.k.a. everything that you experience, which we're not going to give it away. Then comes in the earthquake, completely shakes you, all of your sense of being. And then comes in the fire, which burns that is not supposed to be in and just warms you up, right? And then you go to sleep. And then you're asked not to contact anyone. I know you called your wife, so did he call? Day one?
I don't think
I did.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man.
I set her up. I said,
Okay.
no, you're not going to hear me.
So day one, you're supposed to just go to sleep, and the next day is the whole experience of listening. Now you can listen. And so, what happened to you on day two? What did you hear? Because that's what we want to hear.
Here's one of the biggest things that came out for me in listening for God's voice, and the hand of God, right? So one of the biggest things was that I am enough.
How did you hear that? Tell us, give us the details, because your wife wasn't there, and she's very interested to hear that, and so are other men listening to this, and like, how this motherfucker felt that? So like, just be very specific.
You know, it was a realization that a lot of my life I was living for.
Scratch that.
Yep.
Just go back exactly what happened. Just tell us what happened. How did you hear the voice? No conference talk.
Yeah. So we're on the beach.
Yes.
There we go. We just got done crawling. It seemed like a mile through the sand on legs that were already bleeding and scarred, and and having to dig deep. And we got to a point where we were huddled up as a small pod of brothers, and just sitting there and experiencing the beach, looking out on the ocean, and I'm sitting leaning back into the arms of one of the coaches, and I've got 3 brothers around me, and everybody's hand on my heart, and just simply sitting there and being still and listening for what God has for you, what the voice, well, for me, what God has for me. And it was just simply a realization that I am enough. It's a release. I don't have to live up to any of these preconceived notions that maybe have been in my mind for a lifetime.
Good. As simple as that. How does that show up every day in your life today? How's the message shows up for you every day?
The message shows up for me is that I can live for me and I can live for my family. I don't have to be concerned about making other people happy. And that's kind of rooted in the background of me always having to be the good kid or the good guy. So it freed me. It freed me to be able to focus on what's important.
What happens to that good guy? The guy that is always good. What happens to that? I'm going to ask your wife. What happens to that good guy? He's always good, right? What happens finally to that guy?
He crumbles. The guy that's always the good guy?
Yeah.
He loses it.
She felt something in your voice. I don't know, man. I'm not an expert in what women hear, but I've seen it over and over and over that there's a tremendous amount of tolerance that women have that we don't. So, example, we go and play football or soccer and we hurt our ankle and they're going to hear about it for like 3 days. And they give birth and, obviously like, yes, good job. You did that and that's about it. That's all. But seriously, like there's this tremendous amount of tolerance. There's tolerance for pain. There's tolerance for everything. And there's patience. How long were you waiting for such a passionate voice of his when he just said, hey, I'm going to go to this thing, right? Like what was the message beyond the message that you received?
Hearing passion in his voice or just that emotional, desperate need, that filled something in me that I had needed for years. I needed some kind of passion or emotion from this man for so long. And I needed him to do whatever it was that was going to help him, release him, open his eyes. We didn't know at the time what he needed, but I would pick fights with the guy just so I could get some kind of rise out of him.
Yeah. No, literally.
Yeah.
Literally. We would have arguments and I wouldn't
Axe fights?
I
stand there.
Now we do. Now we do axe throwing. But yeah, literally, I was just so numb and we would have, and she talked about this later, right now after being in Warrior, she acknowledged, look, I would push your buttons on purpose just to get an emotion out of you, just to get you to respond.
Some kind of interaction.
Yeah.
Just so we could have an interaction.
And I don't blame her.
So I get that too from my wife. She often calls me a robot, believe it or not. Obviously, I'm not a robot when I'm training guys here. But what happens when I go home, I do become a robot, right? I just space out or check out, and like the energy has been given so much here that not much is left at home. And for years, I was like, okay, I'm leading all these people. All I want at home is to be led. So when I come on Friday, I want you to tell me what to do Saturday. I'll just do it. I don't want to lead at home. But that was a story, right? That was a story. And I said, well, why am I giving so much? Then there's nothing left to give where it needs to go first. So for me too, there's been a lot of changes. So this is not a game of perfect coaches, perfect trainers. You know this. It's an evolution of what happens, but it's all about that passionate voice. So now for me, it's not the amount of time that I spend at home, because I do spend a lot of time here, but it's the intensity in which I'm present with my daughter or with my son or with my wife. And I feel like for this year has been tremendous. I feel like the mirror effect of that. It's like, okay, I wasn't home that much, but I brought in all of me the period that I was, And that left a footprint for 3 days where I was not energetically present. So is that something that is happening right now with you too?
Yeah, I would say that overall, yes, my intensity level has come up. Me being home, I would also say that I am making the conscious decision to be present and home more often too. For me, you know, moving to a home office, right, and still having an office in the office, but spending more time at home. And back to the good guy thing is saying no.
Yeah.
Just saying no to things that I don't need to say yes to, that I was saying yes to.
For 20 years,
yeah.
I said yes to everything. Did you witness that in him saying
yeah.
yes? Give us a few examples of like.
Every business opportunity, everyone else that needed help, everyone else who wanted him here or there. A business opportunity for sure. This guy would run 25 businesses if somebody didn't slow him down and say, hey, focus.
What about like just family and friends and like people wanting stuff or help or time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Whether he could be gone on a business trip for a week and come home for 5 minutes and someone else needed something and he would go. There was no reserved space for us, but he was doing good things. So it was all justified.
Right. So this is a story of a guy, the dude that just leaves his home and goes in Africa and says, you know, I'm going to dig a well for the kids that are thirsty over there, and now says, you know, I'm doing the Lord's work, but yet the kids and the wife are thirsty at home, right? And I'm not comparing that guy with you, but there are so many guys out there that is just lost. They're just lost in transition of doing good, but the service becomes about glorifying themselves rather than the man upstairs. And again, this is not you, but it's a waterfall effect because we see that around us and it becomes a model. And so therefore we become the nice guy, which we say yes to everybody. And we want to say yes to our family, but they end up being a no on the list. And when you ask a guy, it's like, what the fuck, man? How come you say no to your family? You say, well, I didn't say no. It just ended up being no because I had to say yes to all these things. And then you say, okay, well, isn't that a story? And you're like, yeah. And like everything is a story. Everything in life is a story. And so what if the story was the other way around? What if yes was for the wife and the kids and no was for everybody else? And did you put that script into play? Okay. And what has been the profit of that script?
Well, so I want to say something real quick. When you were talking about that, we were at church. I was just shared this with her, and I was writing notes, and something just hit me, and I don't even know what it was. It was just God speaking to me, and I wrote, "I don't want to build an empty container," and you know, it just went on. I could pull it out and read it, but it went on to the focus on legacy, right?
Yeah,
and
pull it out and read it, man. If you have it.
Where's my phone at? Let me grab it.
Oh yeah, please. Was it you went today?
It was
a couple of days ago.
on Sunday.
Okay, let's hear it.
Right.
Okay.
So, I don't want to build an empty canister or container. Quote, gain the world but lose your soul, right? That's a biblical quote. Have it all, in quotes. What does it matter if I have a great business or great things or great trips, but my connection is empty? Where is my legacy? I am not hunting just for a great life. I demand of myself an amazing legacy. Connection, in bold, is where the men have lost. We are numb from the hunt. We are distracted from our true purpose. Quote, woman, what do you want? I am busy making money to support this family, end quote. That's what men say, right? We all say, I'm out there hunting the bacon. You should leave me alone. That's my job. As he loses the thing he was supposedly fighting for. So we're building this empire, but then we lose our family in the process. How does that make any sense? I am building the canister and filling it. I've been awoken and now must train and equip.
Beautiful. So this is exactly the script, and I think you worded beautifully. It's we get numb by the hunt. That was exactly what I was saying to. Like, whatever the hunt is, it doesn't matter. But there's a numbness that comes from it, and there's only one thing, just only one thing there's a cure to that thing, and that's awareness. without like awaken and remember. That's the only message, right? So awareness of the fact, okay, you just went hunting, great, but then I'm numb, so I'm gonna just remind myself what's priority in my life, and then knowing that 2 days later I'm a dumbass because I'm gonna forget.
Mhm.
But that's the story, right? I'm gonna keep falling and I'm gonna keep up, because if you tell me that you're rising all the way up there and you have been rising ever since, I'll tell you you're a fucking liar right there.
Mhm.
We go up, down, up, down, up, down. In our up and down, we actually move up. But we have to fall. We have to continue to fall. Progress is the actual manifestation of failing and just going up. Or else it would be just this perfection game, which is a perfect lie, which is the good guy, the good guy, the checklist guy. And there are so many good guys right now out there. And they're just good slaves.
Yeah.
Just good slaves at being a good guy. And so knowing this and what you've just written in I don't know if you wrote that or you voice recorded or
I typed it out.
pretty
in
impressive.
In the middle of
pretty
service.
I'm
I
very
was just
impressed
typing
by your
stuff.
fingers how you can. Okay. I thought you wrote it on a yellow paper, but literally like writing that down today and having that awareness. Now, what's next? If you know that, then what's next for you?
What's next for me is, a conversation we were having today is what's next for my queen, my kingdom, my family, right? So for me, it's what am I training for? I'm training for daily to equip them and to build my relationship with them. There's a pastor that did a series on what was it? The arrows. What did he call it? Levi.
Vasco's,
It was about
launching the arrow.
Yeah,
Launching arrows
the concept was your kids are quivers. They're arrows in your quiver, and so we can only go so far. And our goal is to shoot them as far as we possibly can. Our kid is that arrow, right? So how can I be training daily, not for me, but for my kids? And how can I equip my kids to go so much further than I can? And that's the idea, going back to the canister. I want to fill that canister up.
Beautiful. And so, so what's next is teaching. So once you know something, there's this thing of, okay, it's it, then own it. But there's another problem. Most men get to know it, and they don't give themselves the permission to own it, because it's like, oh, well, I didn't say that. I didn't write the book. No, you understand it, so you own it. The concept of plagiarism is the biggest lie that exists out there to stop progress. That's what it is. So assuming that you read something, right, and you understand it, in that moment, if you don't own it, like I could read the Bible and I understand it and say, okay, I own it. It's mine now. I don't care who wrote it. I don't care. I don't give a flying fuck who the apostle was. I don't care. I get it. It's mine now, today. It's living word that exists in my heart today. Obviously, where credit is due, credit is due. But the point is the following: is that so many men reject what they're just reading. You could be reading that, and you could not own it. And it comes from your own finger, and you don't own it. But the minute you do, it becomes yours to teach. Like naturally, you want to talk about it, right? And the first people in line are the kids, because they're your number one students. And you guys obviously started that. You guys started helping your kids, and they run this. What do you call it? The
youth night.
Yeah, youth night. So this upcoming one is their second one or third one?
Oh, they've done 8 or 9 of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've seen the picture with the outdoor. It's really nice. So, how does that make you guys feel? Like when you see they're leading and they're teaching?
That is amazing. Every time we have another one, there's 2 weeks in between. And just this last one, our son he's 14, and he wanted to do the devotion for the kids. So he wrote one himself, and he got up there in front of 50 kids on the microphone, and he was rocking the crowd and telling jokes and totally being himself, like pacing back and forth up in front of the podium, this little stage we've got set up, and just so confident.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. So this change in him that he has brought to our family has taken our son out of his shell.
Yeah.
And he's reaching other kids. And he had kids after his message coming and asking for the notes. And man, we weren't prepared, but can we have a copy? And he's impacting other kids now at 14.
Yeah.
You know, because of the changes in Dustin and that he's pouring it out into all of us.
It's so great because if you look at particularly this year, what happened with COVID and everything is happening to kids, a lot has been taken away from kids, right? For a 14-year-old, like you and I can sit here and there's a lot that's been taken from you. There's a lot that's been taken from me and you. There's just a lot. But for a 14-year-old, his entire world has been taken. No sports, no school, no friends, no association, no hanging out, no skipping by the window. I don't know. But no stuff, right? That a 14-year-old would do. Everything is taken away. And to see your 14-year-old reframe with everything that he's had, and now this is like, okay, youth night. I'm sure that he's preparing for youth night in his mind on his spare time versus spending time on so many other stuff that is just so easier, right? Social media. And I'm not saying, kids shouldn't have access to social media, but I'm saying so many are just sucked into that vortex. And it's a vortex where it creates doubt and fear. That's what it does, because it's a constant game of comparison. You and I can get sucked into it, and we compare ourselves, and we're like, oh, okay, I don't feel really good. Okay, it's a comparison is a thief of joy, and that's what it does. It's a vacuum that sucks in and creates and puts doubt. I mean, back in the days when we would do some stuff, we would go to our room and stare at the poster, Metallica poster, whatever it was, and then just fuck off and go to bed. That would be it. But now it's like, okay, well, you have a window of communication that within 5 seconds you're talking to someone that could completely even make you feel worse. Like, somebody could tell you have big ears at 13, and how does a 13-year-old girl process that right before going to bed? Like back in the days where at school you would be told that at 4, but then you had 4 till 9, 10 at home. Right. This is right before closing your eyes. So like this is happening. This vacuum that constantly puts doubt into the children, into adults. Moms and dads that are constantly on this thing, avoiding the presence of their children. It's happening in your neighborhood. You're seeing it everywhere. It's like, oh yeah, kids are playing on the street. Well, they shouldn't. The street is not the park. They should be playing in the park, but it's because it's convenient for you to sit on your chair and be on your phone and drink wine so you can say you're watching your kids. So no, I'm not going to have my kid in that street being watched by a drunk, so therefore I don't contribute to my neighborhood's playground, right? So I'm hated. I'm not liked. I'm the weird guy. But the reality is something else, is that your head is in this world. And it's today's reality, right? It's just that on one side, it connects us together. It's beautiful. On the other side, it takes us apart. Like in a world that is technologically so connected, we're just so disconnected. And COVID and all the restriction and everything that is happening right now, it's not really helping it. It's reinforcing this isolation. So to see your kids like evolving inside of this, what does that tell you about like future 2021? Because it's truly like 2020 was the unknown. To sit here and say 2021 is the unknown still is to accept the defeat, right? And if you say, I'm going to win 2020 because it was a weird year, but I'm going to come out of it with a win. You got your win, right? Which is like your youth's night. You got your win, which is like you're on a 60-day challenge, right? Okay. Which is your daily devotions. Yep. So when you come with that win and then you go to war of 2021 versus being defeated in 2020 and going to 2021 seeking to win. Like, what do you feel in that? What do you hear inside of that energetically? Emily?
That's amazing, actually, that I hadn't thought about that we're ending this year on a really positive note of growth. It hasn't been, it's very disturbing what's going on in the world and with people and in their hearts. But we're not entering 2021 depressed. I think we're already like steamrolling forward, and our kids too.
Beautiful. And
yeah,
you?
I think just seeing a massive level of certainty and confidence moving forward. It's a baseline that is it's positioned where we have every opportunity in front of us. The kids have every opportunity in front of them. it's not coming from a place of lack. It's coming from a place of growth. I, they're equipped, and we keep looking at the kids, and our relationship is stronger than it has ever been. The kids, they get it. They see what's going on, and they are fully equipped. You're talking about the social media and the issues, and yeah, they're getting that stuff too, but they're able to even themselves reframe the situation for themselves to be able to move past it and move on and find some growth from it.
Beautiful. So when you look at 2020, I have a lot of conversation with the guys, and everybody says, man, despite everything going on, this year was super nice for business. We did more money than any other year. And I get it. I hear both sides, because also there's guys in events and entertainment, and Ravi was one of them. Is like, there is no entertainment, right? We were talking with Ravi, and he would literally pay $6,000 to $10,000 for people to just grab his equipment from point E and just deliver it to point B, so he doesn't have to do it himself. You're talking about like 22 cases of like drums and stuff like that, and those people are out of business, right? It just like whoever was serving the movie industry, all the actors, all the logistics, there's a tremendous amount of supply chain that is on hold. Like literally on hold. Why? Because human momentum is on hold. What do you expect when human momentum is on hold? Like anything else, supplying it is on hold. Now, on the other side, there's a lot of industry that are thriving, and it's beautiful. But rare are families that would say, hey, we won because we established like the round table of gratitude exercise, or we established like this crazy thing, like 60 days to hell, which is, what do you mean? Oh, I have to study the Bible? Okay, 60-day devotion. Like weird stuff, right? But it doesn't matter. It's victory, or seeing your children reframing. Just that by itself. Be able to see a situation, not become a victim of it, and the ability to reframe. If I could reframe a lot of shit at 14, I can guarantee you my life would be completely different. I'm sitting here not saying that I want it to be different. There's nowhere else I want to be right now but here, from the bottom of my heart. But I'm looking at it as a 14-year-old, then I could be a super ninja by now. Just the ability to reframe, because I remember so many stories hurt me, right? They just hurt me, and it caused pain. And because I had pain, I had to somehow release the pain to somebody else. So the story became hurt people hurt, and we've all been hurt. Some people like to play the angel. No, we've all been hurt. That's why we attack. So when we attack, it's just because there's a pain. It's either discussed or it's been there for a while. So now it comes out. It has to balance. And so lots of hurt people in 2020. Some are able to reframe. Many don't have that capability. And so when you walk to 2021, yes, it is going to be a war. Unfortunately, it's going to be a war among us, because there's going to be plenty of hurt people that are going to hurt people. Now, you can divide that in political parties, the pain in political parties. You can divide that in, conspiracy guys versus name it. There is just too many separation coming into 2021. And if we continue promoting this separation, it is going to lead to a place where this division, now it's from hate, now really coming from a place of truth. So you guys are on a retreat 3 days in the same hotel that you got your ass kicked, which is pretty awesome. And so
Sam, why is he making me go up the stairs?
We're walking all the way.
Yeah, there's an elevator. And so it's a beautiful place, and I'm glad you guys could come in and just do the podcast. We talked about this a couple of months ago. So if we make this about you and right now, right? And in this moment, in this place, all the work that you've done, everything that you invest in yourself, you continue investing in yourself, there is no finish line, because, there's no finish line for your kids. And legacy, that's what it is. We can call it legacy, we can call all these fancy words, but at the end of it, it's just there's no finish line. It's just there is no finish line. And the work continues. If you put it all together, it's a nice sunset right there. It's just perfect timing. You have your wife here, your beautiful queen, and what would you say to her today, right here, right now?
I love you. What would I say to my queen right now? I am truly just in love with not just you, but where we are at right now in our family experience. I'm on fire daily. That is being able to be in a place to now know what I need to be focusing on. And that is the answer. Coming into this whole warrior thing was like business, and then quickly realizing in Warrior Week that it wasn't about business, it was about us and our relationship. I'm on cloud nine right now and just super excited about, we were talking today about our future, and we're starting with our facts, our foundation of where we're at right now. And we wouldn't take back what our past looked like, and we went through a really rocky past, but it's put us where we're at today. So it's just pure joy and excitement to be where we are right now. Excited to be able to be at this solid foundation to grow from. Now we have an opportunity to do it together rather than separate, not growing apart, but growing together more and more. And probably the most thing I'm excited, and I know she's the same way, is about our kids. Mm-hmm. And about that opportunity of our kids right now, and knowing that they are already set at such a higher level of understanding of life and dealing with things in life that it's just, I'm excited to watch it unfold and play out in front of us.
All right, okay. So we get the kids, check. We get the future, check. Like her, what do you feel right here, right now about her? Forget the kids. Forget the business, forget the devotion, forget just her, and stop looking at me.
What do I feel about her?
Now,
I love you. I do. I am just completely and utterly in love with you. And I am so grateful for you in just being there for me and waiting patiently and painfully through this process, and where we're at today. I'm in love with you.
Beautiful. And what would you say to him now?
I'm so proud of you. I am so amazed at the man that you've become and the ownership that you've taken of your life and your intentions and who you want to be. And it's for you first, because you deserve it. And then it's for us. And I'm just so proud of you, all that you've been through. And I love you. And I'm so glad that we've come to this point of not just caring about each other, but caring for each other. And that is the intention in our marriage now.
It's amazing. When you look at it, like I would say exactly the same thing. My wife would say exact same thing. I know I said the same thing. Literally said the same thing. Without my wife supporting me, I wouldn't be here. And this is like throughout the entire, even in the software, oil and gas, Warrior. If she wouldn't support me during Warrior Week and give me that space, I would not be sitting here, guaranteed. So every time I'm grateful, the way you're grateful to her wife. And the response is always the same thing, which is this, after all my fuck ups, there's always this sense of being proud, right? And I sit sometimes, I'm like, man, to somebody to be proud of somebody, we hear that a lot of time, but we don't take the time to just feel, what does that mean? What does it mean, somebody being proud of us? This person is proud, not this person, the only person that matters the most in my life. My wife is proud of me. And when you start just pondering upon it, it gives you tremendous amount of confidence and certainty. Literally, it just puts you on a fuck you chair. You sit on the chair and you feel absolutely on top of the cloud. And at the end of the day, this is what all men want, which is this feeling of knowing that, okay, so, all right, the hunting that I've done has paid off. The family's eating, and they're proud of the hunting because I'm present. I'm no longer numb. And so it's huge. And to see you guys in almost like a coalition going to war in 2000, it's amazing. What I can share is that the majority of the couples don't have this amount of just collaboration on, yes, couples are there, they support each other, but you guys are really working on common projects. And this is something that I would always encourage is like pick a project and work on it. And you guys have picked up a beautiful spiritual project you're working on. The fruits are the kids, and you continue doing that. And that is an inspiration to so many guys that are hearing this. And by the way, if you are hearing this and this is a message that like literally warming your heart, because typically we just have the guys on the call, but now we have an amazing couple that has been living this, and you've just heard the truth. I mean, this is not scripted. This is exactly as is. So if you feel this and you want your wife or somebody to hear this as well, just forward it to her, I guess. This is the first time I'm asking you to forward it to another woman, but forward it to your wife or listen to it together, because this kind of shows that kind of makes a radical shift and a difference in the way you think and in the way you feel. And this could be the beginning. I don't know where it's going to bring you, but if it brings you to a common project, and if that common project is journaling, talking, for me, the common project is my wife wanted to sing. And for like 8 years, I was like, no, later, no, later, no. Like, that was my line, later. Like, and then I sit down and say, what the fuck does that mean, later? There's no, like, for 8 years, I've been saying that and said, you know what, not later now. So I'm going to become your project sponsor. So in the process of becoming a project sponsor, all I did is that I energetically welcome what she wanted to do. And man, it's been like 6 months, and I feel like it's one of the best decisions I've made because I sponsored her ideas, right? It's not about the money. It's about the attention. Because before it was, okay, no, later. It just didn't make sense because to me, we had so many other priorities but to her, that was a priority, right? So when the shift happens and you become a sponsor, everything changes. And the fruit is here. Like, I mean, literally, the sponsorship of what you guys doing together for your kids as an example. So I do want you to share some of these projects that you're collaborating with each other, because this gives example to other people listening right now to kind of follow. And who cares if they get it? It's theirs. They can own it, right? So talk about the youth project. Talk about the common project you're on right now with your wife. In fact, we're going to hear from her because we heard a lot from you. So just talk about these common projects and what does it mean to you as like the queen of the family.
So I guess the biggest one that we're working on right now that we've been doing for a couple months now is called Youth Night. And it is for middle school and high school kids to come where they can gather comfortably and have community. We do worship and devotions, and then they just have a few hours of running around our house and playing games and just fellowship and fun that we're trying to fill in the gap of what they're missing right now. So one, they need mentors. They need friendships in person. They come in the door and you don't get on your phone and you don't sit and play Among Us. You enjoy the people that you are around because that's what you're not getting right now during the day. So it's evolved and it's becoming more of, we are kind of backing off, but setting the stage for the kids to own it, where we've been bringing in speakers and setting up the games ourselves. Now they're starting to take ownership of making plans of what they want to do. So we had a couple of weeks ago, it was a testimony night, giving the kids all a chance, just sitting all over the balcony and passing around a microphone and giving their testimony. And God moved there, and we saw something so amazing in these kids. They had something to say, and they had a story to tell. And where else do they get to do that right now? They don't get to practice their power right now and their passions. And so just as they passed it around, these kids got a chance. It was like, well, okay, now we know God made it apparent. That's what we need to provide now. We need to provide a place for these kids to open up and be passionate and be vulnerable and practice in this community. And they all support each other. It's amazing to get 50, 60, 70 middle school and high school kids together and have them cheer each other on, like when we did open mic night and they're coming up for the first time to try to perform something.
Wow.
And, somebody messes up or they get a pause and the crowd just roars, you got it, you got it. And, they don't all know each other and they're getting to know each other, but just that community that we provided and assessing their needs and being able to provide it. So we are talking constantly after each night, okay, what did you see from God? God was moving. What did you see? And so then we decide what these kids need next. What has God revealed that they need next time? So our next one too, we have more kids who Nathan did his devotion and taught the last one, and we open it up. Does anyone else have something powerful God's put on their heart that you want to come up here and test it out on your friends because we're all friends and we all love you and everyone supports you. And so we had 2 kids come up. Yes, I have something I want to share.
Wow.
And so the next time these kids get to come up, the first opportunity to come in and share what God's teaching them and what's on their heart during this time of being quarantined and losing everything and not having any connection anywhere else. God's working in them.
Mm-hmm.
And so our goal right now is to provide the opportunity for them to talk about it because that's where the power is when they can let it out.
So beautiful. And for years, these kids have been worshiping the wrong idols, celebrities, and COVID like kind of like exposed everyone because everybody vanished away. So now they're all gone, and the kids are ready. They're like sponge. They want mentorship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the programs such as yours, they're putting together anything that could just fill up that sponge. They're like a sponge right now, and they recognize that the people that they idolized as celebrities are no longer the ones that they want to idolize. So they're ready. They're ready to hear from their friends. They're ready to share. So yeah, I've been a witness of that. Like just talking to just hundreds of guys in this year, and there's a need for kids to move, and their voice is the first thing that needs to move, or else, man, they just stay home with the video games. And I'm not saying video games are bad or anything like that. It's just like they need to move. The voice needs to move. The voice inside, they need to have an opinion about everything. They should, and we should hear them. But adults' busy life and the stress of everything else right now just makes us deaf. So like we're not even hearing our own kids. So the parents need to move too, right? And unfortunately, a lot of the parents right now, it's moving backwards, which is like, okay, I'm gonna drink, or I'm gonna change my state by smoking or doing this. They change their state, and in a state that is changed, you're no longer hearing. I'm not saying you're an alcoholic. I'm not saying you have a drug problem. I'm saying, bro, for that 4 hours that you have a different state, well, you're not hearing your kids. You're definitely not hearing the man upstairs. There's just like, or if you hear him, you're hearing the wrong guy. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for continuing doing the work. It's not over. And thank you for being an example. And thank you for glorifying the work in this relationship, right? Ultimately, collaborating on this, borrowing from the female energy and providing the alpha energy. This is what coalition is. And a lot of guys are seeking that. A lot of guys listening to that. And so where can they find you and your business if they ever want to reach out?
So you can just reach out to me on Facebook. Look for Dustin Luce, or Instagram.
Luce.
I'm Italian here, Luce. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, you guys can reach out if anybody wants to talk about this youth night project. And I just want to add, it was birthed out of necessity. A lot of churches are closed right now, and people are not meeting, and people don't realize the effect that the youth suicide rates are rising. People aren't talking about these things, and the kids need an outlet. And so, our kids were like, hey, we're being invited to this other church that's open. And we said, no, we're not going to go church hopping, but how can you be the solution? And it was like, well, could we do something at home? And so our daughter's now leading worship. My son is helping coordinate and doing the message. Even our 9-year-old at the testimony night got the mic and gave his testimony too. It was awesome. He's running around and having fun too. So if anybody wants to, talk about this and collaborate and get ideas, we'd love to share. But
Tell us a little bit about your business and what you do for the veterans. And
yeah, so my business partner and I launched VA Rep, which is the Veteran Association of Real Estate Professionals, about 10 years ago, and the purpose was to educate real estate practitioners how to better serve veterans in the home ownership process, but then also specifically teach vets on the VA loan benefit and financial literacy. Path to home ownership, that's the light at the end of the tunnel. They serve to protect our right to own a home and the American dream, so our goal is to help them with that. We do a myriad of things. We do things in policy. We've had bills in Congress. We do conventions to train and equip leaders to do this work, to volunteer. We donate homes. I just got back from Arkansas, giving a home away to an Army vet. We've got several others slated for next year in Oklahoma and South Carolina. So there's a lot that we do. You can connect with me through there. varep.net is the website. VA Rep on social media, VA Rep National. And you can connect with us there if we have any realtors or lenders on that want to plug into that.
Beautiful. And I something that you touched upon I want to talk about is that to some extent I feel like COVID and whatever has happened, it's kind of also a divine interruption, because when you look at popularity, that was the disease that was causing all kind of issue with the young crowd, right? So if you're not popular on social media, if you're not popular there, you're not worth it. And next thing you know, like suicide has become huge, right? Because it started with comparison and popularity. And COVID kind of like pissed on all that. It's like, okay, well, I'm not popular. Neither are you, because you're not at school. You're not this. Queen Bee goes away. The dude that was popular at high school. All that stuff is kind of like now everything is like reshuffled. So as bad as it may be, the man upstairs has a plan. And all we got to do is just be victorious and just move on to what awaits for us in 2021. I do want to thank you both for being here. I do want to thank you for shining the light. You both have a spark in your eyes. You have it in your eyes. You have it in your eyes. That's why there's a beautiful match here. And I do want to thank you for listening to this podcast. Although we were all cramped up in one camera, but it's pretty cozy here. It's like Christmas night. So if you feel like the conversation of today resonated with you, whether it was something that Emily shared or Dustin shared, or just like a veteran that needs help right now to get a house, or whatever that is that you felt inside of your heart, that is kind of like that arrow that you were talking about, right? Just pull it and throw it in someone's heart where you feel this with this message, something in this conversation with person. We're not really popular. We don't tend to be popular, but we do ask one thing at you is just pay it forward. So if you feel the message resonated with you, pay it somebody else, and that should take care of your deeds. Final words?
I would just echo, Warrior has literally changed the destiny of our marriage, of our life, of our family. So anybody listening to this, if anything's resonating with you, if you're seeing things on social media about Warrior, don't hesitate. Wish I would have done even earlier, but I'm not going to sit and dwell on that. Get engaged. This guy right here is he's called by God, definitely. So thank you, Coach Sam. Thanks to Warrior for everything that you guys have done.
Thank you.
Yep.
Final words, Emily?
I would just echo that for any of the wives out there. If your husband is looking for this, there's nothing better that you could support than your man wanting to step up and be a man and learn how to be a man and own his family and his destiny. There's no better support you could give.
Beautiful. There you have it, gentlemen. Thank you for being with us. And until next time, take care of yourself and each other.